kids, where are you? It's time for all the art to tell stories.
Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between the rolling hills and lush green forests, there lived a young girl named Lily. She was known throughout the village for her curiosity and love for nature. Every day after school, she would spend hours wandering through the fields, watching birds soar through the sky and listening to the rustling of leaves as the wind danced through the trees. But there was one field, just outside the village, that seemed different from the others. It was barren and desolate, with dry, cracked soil and not a single blade of grass in sight. The villagers had long given up on it, believing that nothing could grow there. It was known as the Barron Field, and over the years, people stopped paying attention to it altogether. But for Lily, there was something about that empty, forgotten piece of land that captured her imagination. Every time she passed it, she would stop and wonder what it could become if only someone gave it a little bit of care. She imagined rows of flowers, towering trees and vegetables that could feed the whole village. To her, it was not just a barren field. It was a place full of potential, waiting to be nurtured. One bright spring morning, as Lily sat on a nearby hill overlooking the barren field, an idea began to form in her mind. What if I tried to turn that field into a garden? She thought. The idea seemed ambitious, even impossible, but Lily's heart was filled with determination. She had read stories of how love and effort could transform even the most hopeless of situations, and she wanted to try. Excited by the thought, she rushed home to tell her parents about her plan. They listened patiently, smiling at her enthusiasm, but her father hesitated. "Lily," he said gently, "that field hasn't grown anything for as long as anyone can remember. The soil is too poor. It's too dry. Perhaps there's a reason nothing ever grows there." But Lily was not discouraged. "I want to try," she insisted. "Maybe it just needs someone to care for it." Seeing the determination in her eyes, her mother finally nodded. "If anyone can bring life to that field, it's you," she said, smiling warmly. "But remember, gardens take time. You'll need patience, hard work, and above all, faith in the process." With her parents' blessing, Lily set out the very next day. She borrowed a shovel from her father's shed, gathered a few seeds she had saved from the previous summer, and filled a bucket with water from the village well. As she stood in the middle of the barren field, she felt a little overwhelmed by its vast emptiness, but she didn't let it dampen her spirits. She knelt down and dug her first hole, gently placing a seed into the dry soil. One by one, she planted her seeds, carefully covering them with earth, and watered each spot with care. For weeks, Lily worked tirelessly. Each day, she would spend hours tending to the field, watering the seeds, pulling weeds, and adding compost she collected from the village gardens to improve the soil. The villagers often watched her from a distance, some shaking their heads, thinking her efforts were in vain. But others admired her persistence and admired how she poured her heart into the ground. Yet, despite all her hard work, nothing seemed to change. The field remained as barren as ever. Lily began to feel disheartened. She would lie awake at night, wondering if her father had been right all along. Maybe it was impossible to grow anything in that field. One evening, after a particularly long and tiring day, Lily sat at the edge of the field, her hands covered in dirt, and her heart heavy with doubt. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the land, she whispered to herself, "Maybe I should give up." But just as she was about to leave, she noticed something small and green poking out of the ground near her feet. Her heart skipped a beat as she knelt down for a closer look. There, among the dry soil, was the tiniest sprout, the first sign of life in the field. Lily's eyes filled with tears of joy. It wasn't much, but it was a start. From that moment on, Lily's determination was renewed. She continued to care for the field with even more passion, waking up early every morning and staying late into the evening. And slowly but surely more sprouts began to appear. The once barren field was no longer empty. It was filled with life. Weeks turned into months, and the field began to transform. The sprouts grew into plants, the plants blossomed into flowers, and soon, vibrant patches of color dotted the landscape. Sunflowers stretched towards the sky, marigolds lined the edges, and wildflowers of every hue covered the ground. Lily had done it. She had turned the barren field into a miracle garden. But it wasn't just flowers that grew in the garden. Lily had also planted vegetable seeds. And now rows of tomatoes, cucumbers, and carrots were beginning to flourish. The garden wasn't just beautiful, it was bountiful. Word spread quickly throughout the village, and soon people were coming from all over to see the garden that had once been nothing but dry, cracked soil. One day, as Lily stood in the middle of her garden, admiring the fruits of her labor, a group of children from the village approached her. "How did you do it, Lily?" one of them asked in awe. "How did you turn this field into such a beautiful garden?" Lily smiled and knelt down to their level. "It wasn't easy," she admitted. "But I learned that with hard work, patience, and a little bit of faith, even the most barren places can bloom."